Hello and welcome to the second video in my new video series called Romeo Makes Trading Predictions. Here I'm going to look for predictions posted by Romeo on the public Twitter, the Telegram, and these are usually forecasts about price in particular assets. They're something to be paying attention to. I'm going to try to make this video on Sundays and just to update as they play out, and also talk about potential nuances and lower time frame considerations based on what we can see on the charts. So the next prediction I want to talk about in Romeo Makes Trading Predictions is this one about Ethereum. What if I told you we will see a $700 Ethereum? He posted on July 17th, just 2 days ago. I'm pretty excited about this one. I like scalping crypto. I think I'm bearish myself on crypto. It was nice to get confirmation on that. I didn't really see it, but then again, I wasn't the one who sourced this. So going to the chart, I can go right to my trading view here. You can see that we are actually in a bearish pause CRT with Ethereum on the 6-month time frame. We are on the 6-month chart of Ethereum right now, and the origination candle was here Friday. New Year's Day, every 6-month candle, it's either New Year's Day or June 1st, right? Is it? No, I'm sorry, July 1st. And so when 2021 began, that it was that surplus of COVID, M2 liquidity, post COVID. So here's the thing that allows us to be confident that we're not in the bearish pause CRT. We're actually in the bearish. We're in a real bearish CRT. We're in a faster one, a more conventional one. I was just looking at crude. That's why I'm and which is the opposite. In other words, crude has got a bullish macro distribution target right now, and we're in distribution, and Ethereum has a bearish, and we're in distribution. So let's outline this. So with this candle here, H1 of 2021 candle, being the origination candle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 was the all-time high in Bitcoin in the latter half of 2025. Sorry, Bitcoin and Ethereum. So let me highlight that real quick. So that's peak manipulation right there. We're gonna look for. We could go down to low time frames and look for entries. 6-month chart. So the timing is really cool. The timing is the first half of next year. How do I know that, or why am I confident in that? In further projecting on top of this, on top of Romeo's projection, I'm going to hide his tweet. It's about the timing. So this I consider this as like a candle 0. Actually, well, it could be candle 0 or it could be candle 1. And so if this is candle 1, because it did make a pretty significant progress, because it traded to the, it opened, well, let's actually have a look inside the candle first before I decide. So it opened in discount and it closed in premium here, and then during the latter half it closed in premium still. So I think that candle there, Q2 2025, no, Q2, H2 2025, the second half of 2025, that candle that we're focusing on here as the start of the distribution, you could, we'll call it candle 0. And this is the first candle of the distribution. Well, okay, because I try to give my model 3 candles, and that would actually prescribe by the end of the year, 700 by the end of the year. Though you could always leave the door open for 4, because it did take 7 candle, or sorry, it did take 10, and 10 is on the long side of the, I see a lot of 8s, and then when I'm looking at 8, I'm expecting 3, right? I even see a 7 every now and then, but then with a 10 candle range into the distribution, we might be talking about a different ratio. I could just kind of like do a little of this action and just measure by daily as well. Let's do that. Let's get a read, because there's a ratio I have that I use. Yeah, so that's 1,700 trading days, and if you take 1,700 and you multiply it by 0.3, then you get 510. And that's essentially the median ratio. Oh, 510 is just at the beginning of next year. Just at the beginning of next year. So yeah, so there's there's some wiggle room, but that's the schedule. That's the schedule of Ethereum's decline below 700. Very exciting. Very, very exciting. A 6, wow. I'm trying to do the math here. If a weekly is a 4-hour, and is a 1 week a quarter, and then, for a yearly candle, what would you signal on? So it gets weird. You need to really analyze on lower time frames to make decisions. But as far as macro guidance, we are definitely due for a good drop. I mean, that's another 50% decline, which is, it'll just devastate, I think, because I think Ethereum still has some people who are more, I want to say, like, ideologically bullish. Like, they're bullish for like ideological reasons on Ethereum. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not like the hugest crypto guy in the world as far as like the actual industry aspect of it, but Ethereum definitely had its moment. Yeah. So when this rising trend line with the LR below is definitely going to be a point of interest, and we could look for further trades, like do we get a situation where where this is the origination candle, and then we have kind of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we turtle soup this particular weekly candle to just dump like 3 bad weeks, and those 3 bad weeks, like, they pierce this trend line pretty bad. Like maybe there's a 4th week that just punches through the trend line and punches down into this range, and then we get another little setup, right? And just lower and on and on like that. We might have, if that is we're on the weekly, and it takes like 13 weeks or so, which is about a quarter, right? To play out, we will have 3 more quarters of that. We will have 3 more quarters of just this kind of horrific inducing the bulls and then dumping on them, and inducing the bulls and then dumping on them down below, grinding our way lower. Some sort of crisis in the crypto world could cause a more violent drop, and that might be the kiss of death. So we'll see. There's all sorts of stuff going on that could do it. But yeah. Oh, another commentary. You know what else likes the 6-month time frame is the idea of the global liquidity cycle, and the global liquidity cycle is actually 65 to 68 months, and the author is Michael Howell. If you want to check it out, he has a book called Capital Wars. But the global liquidity cycle, his next prediction for the next low is here. It's this. He basically says the first half of 2027. And that's when that lines up with the prediction for ETH to be lower than 700. Thank you, Romeo. So both Howell, who's the Bear Stearns liquidity, he was an analyst at Bear Stearns in the 80s, and they were like the liquidity pioneers, trading like insane amounts of bonds. And this is when Bear Stearns was like the largest bond trading firm. But yeah, so it's really cool to see the 2 analytical frameworks line up. One from like this like big data approach to like analyzing high finance and all this crazy data you'd have to pay all this money for. It's not on TradingView. It's not on Forex Factory Calendar, but it's insane. The amount of sophistication in that guy's models. And he does like a Fourier analysis, and his is more like a sine wave. I might not be able to like freely, let's see if I can freely draw it, but basically the idea is there's a liquidity trough, and then it's a liquidity, my little lock tool isn't working that well. But anyways, I'm a noob. I'm a TradingView noob apparently. It's a sine wave, and you go from periods of high liquidity to periods of low liquidity, and guess when the last low on the cycle was? Just to show you that Ethereum truly is a liquidity product. It was here. So technically, I'm sorry. It was here. But yeah, so crypto dumps in advance of the liquidity cycle. So we might, by the end of the year thing, and so that's really fascinating. But yeah, like it was October of 2022. That was the last trough in the liquidity cycle, and global liquidity, according to all those models, is ebbing, just like it was in 2022. We had the sterling gilt crisis in 2022 with GBP USD, Great British Pound, or pound sterling, and the government bonds that are backed in, the government bonds that are issued by the English Treasury and the Royal Treasury, and the Bank of England had and powers that be had to intervene, and that's what really marked the October 2022 low there. But I had all sorts of fun stuff like Swiss banks being merged and pretty intense time, and that's what you can expect for that time, for the next dark time in global finance, which will be the first half of 27. So thank you for